Hey guys, tonight we will gently drift back to ancient Rome, where you are a young girl, perhaps no older than 10, plucked from your family and thrust into a life of unparalleled sanctity and seclusion. Imagine the bustling forum, the scent of roasting meats, the distant clamor of chariot wheels, and then silence as you step through the gates of the Atrium Vestae. It's a bit like joining a very exclusive, very ancient, and incredibly high-stakes boarding school. A reality check, though, you probably wouldn't survive this. Your TikTok skills definitely wouldn't help here. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are chosen, not by choice, but by fate and a flick of the lots, or perhaps by the Pontifex Maximus himself, observing your noble birth and unblemished record. Suddenly, your childhood is over. You leave behind the familiar comforts of your family home for a new sacred existence. This isn't just a career change, it's a total life overhaul. A common historical fact is that Vestal Virgins were typically selected between the ages of 6 and 10, serving for 30 years. What's quirky is that if a Vestal made a mistake in a ritual, like dropping a sacred object, she could be publicly flogged by the Pontifex Maximus, a bit much for an accidental fumble, don't you think? Historians still debate whether these punishments were purely ceremonial or genuinely brutal. Your primary duty, the very cornerstone of your existence, is tending the sacred fire of Vesta, the goddess of the hearth. This isn't just any fire. It represents the eternal flame of Rome itself. If it ever times went out, it was believed to portend disaster for the entire city. So, you spend your days ensuring it flickers brightly, constantly feeding it wood, like an ancient, very serious campfire warden. You also fetch water from the sacred spring, Fons Egeria, a daily pilgrimage that keeps you connected to the outside world, if only through a bucket. Imagine trying to explain that job description on a Roman LinkedIn profile. Flame maintenance and sacred hydration specialist. A common historical fact is that the Vestal Virgins were solely responsible for keeping this chapter's fire lit, day and night, for centuries. A quirky detail is that they were forbidden from using any metal tools to tend the fire, relying instead on simpler implements, perhaps to emphasize their purity and connection to older traditions. Historians still debate whether the constant attention required was meant as a meditative practice or simply a practical way to ensure the fire never truly died. Your home is the Atrium Vestae, a sprawling complex nestled right in the heart of the Roman Forum, far grander than most Roman villas. It's a veritable palace, complete with private apartments, lush gardens, and reflecting pools. Here you live alongside your fellow Vestals, overseen by the chief Vestal. Think of it as a very exclusive sorority, but with significantly higher stakes and less toga parties. You enjoy fine dining, with servants attending to your needs, a stark contrast to the austere life you might expect. A common historical fact is that the Atrium Vestae was a magnificent 3-story building, richly decorated with statues and mosaics. What's truly quirky is that archaeologists have found evidence of extensive plumbing and even underfloor heating in the Vestal's quarters, making their living conditions surprisingly comfortable for the era. Historians still debate whether this opulence was a sign of their veneration or a practical necessity to keep such important figures content. Despite your secluded life, you wield surprising influence and enjoy unparalleled freedoms for Roman women. You can own property, write your own will, and even testify in court without a male guardian, privileges unheard of for almost any other woman in Rome. You attend public games and theatrical performances, seated in places of honor, a true VIP. People make way for you in the streets. Even consuls lower their fasces, their bundles of rods and axes. Remember them? In deference. You're like an ancient celebrity, but with far more spiritual gravitas and frankly better job security. A common historical fact is that Vestals had significant legal independence, a stark contrast to other Roman women who were always under the legal guardianship of a male. A quirky privilege was their ability to pardon condemned criminals if they happened to encounter them on the way to execution, as long as it wasn't intentional. Historians still debate whether these immense privileges were compensation for their vow or a genuine reflection of their perceived sacred power. But let's not forget the big one, your vow of chastity. For 30 years, you must remain a virgin, a spiritual bride to the state. This isn't just a personal promise, it's a sacred oath that directly impacts the welfare of Rome. Your purity is believed to be intertwined with the city's prosperity and protection. Break this vow, and you threaten the very fabric of Roman society. It's a heavy burden, like carrying the emotional weight of an entire empire on your shoulders, plus the guilt of not being able to gossip about that cute new gladiator. A common historical fact is that the Vestal Virgin served for 3 decades, 10 years as a novice, 10 years of active service, and 10 years training new recruits. A quirky piece of information is that their hair, once cut short upon entry, was allowed to grow long after 10 years of service, perhaps symbolizing their full embrace of the role. Historians still debate whether the emphasis on their virginity was a purely religious concept or also served as a political tool to control powerful women. Now, for the part that gives everyone the chills, the consequences of breaking that vow. If you were accused of times incestum asterisk, as it was called, and found guilty, your fate was unimaginably grim. You wouldn't be executed by conventional means, as shedding Vestal blood was forbidden. Instead, you'd be stripped of your robes, paraded through the city, and then buried alive in a subterranean chamber with a small lamp, some bread, water, and milk. Imagine the horror, the claustrophobia, the realization that you'd be left to slowly fade away. It's not exactly a spa day gone wrong. A common historical fact is that being buried alive was the standard punishment for a Vestal who violated her vow of chastity. What's quirky is that the chamber would sometimes contain a small symbolic bed, hinting at the marriage to the earth as a substitute for her forbidden earthly union. Historians still debate whether any Vestals truly broke their vows, or if accusations were sometimes politically motivated to remove inconvenient figures. Throughout your 30 years, you receive an exceptional education, far exceeding that of most Roman women. You learn to read and write, manage finances, and understand complex rituals and laws. You become a highly cultivated and intelligent individual, a true intellectual powerhouse in a world that often confined women to domestic roles. After your 3 decades of service, you are finally free to marry, to live a normal life, even to receive a substantial dowry from the state. But after a lifetime of unique privileges and sacred duties, finding a husband and adjusting to ordinary society often proves incredibly challenging. It's like re-entering the dating pool after being literally married to your job for 30 years. A common historical fact is that after their 30-year service, Vestals were free to marry, though many chose not to. A quirky fact is that many Roman men found former Vestals difficult to marry, perhaps intimidated by their independence and unique status, or fearing divine displeasure. Historians still debate whether the freedom to marry was truly a reward or simply a societal expectation that few Vestals actually found fulfilling. As centuries pass, your role in the cult of Vesta endure, a steadfast anchor in a changing Rome. You witness emperors rise and fall, the city expand and transform. But eventually, with the rise of Christianity, your ancient traditions begin to wane. The final blow comes in the late 4th century CE, when Emperor Theodosius I bans pagan cults, leading to the extinguishing of the sacred fire for good. Your order, which had existed for over 1,000 years, simply vanishes. Yet, your legacy, the image of the pure, powerful, and independent Vestal Virgin, continues to echo through history, a quiet testament to a unique path taken. A common historical fact is that the Vestal Virgin's order was officially disbanded around 394 CE by Emperor Theodosius I. A quirky detail is that the last known chief Vestal, Coelia Concordia, converted to Christianity shortly after the order's dissolution. Historians still debate whether the Vestal's eventual decline was solely due to Christianization or if internal issues within the order also played a part. As the flickering images of ancient Rome slowly fade, you might feel a gentle pull back to your own soft bed. The world of the Vestal Virgins, with its profound silence and solemn duties, its moments of quiet reflection and immense responsibility, now recedes into the soft mists of time. Picture the peaceful gardens of the Atrium Vestae, the eternal flame gently tended, the hushed footsteps echoing through marble halls. Allow those sensations to settle around you, calming your mind and soothing your spirit. There's a certain tranquility in understanding a life so utterly different from our own, a life dedicated to a quiet devotion. Let the weight of history simply cradle you. Now, guiding you deeper into a peaceful slumber, a soft journey into the stillness of the night. Sweet dreams.